ma'am. So, ladies and gentlemen, it is now time for the THOT Journal with Casie. This is the first time we are using the phones, so you're going to have to be slow with us. And please, no judgment. Yes. So please, no judgment. We're going to try to get her in, so give us 1 second.
We're also going to explain the abbreviation of THOT because we don't want people to get it wrong.
That's what I said in the beginning. I was like, people like THOT Journal.
THOT. Wait a minute. Spicy.
Wait. All right, so let's see. Here we go. Let's see. Hello, Casie.
Yo, what's up?
There we go.
That was easy.
That was real easy.
That was real easy.
Let me turn this here down. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is Casie with THOT Journal, and she's going to explain all about what THOT Journal is and what it's about. And no, it's not about how to twerk better or the best stripper shoes or what kind of hole to use. It's not like that. So, Casie, how's your day going so far before you get into everything?
Day's going pretty good. You know, it's Monday, so like always, you got to get back to the money.
Yes, of course, grind day. Yes, I know. So, without further ado, Casie, go ahead and explain to the people what this new segment that we're going to be bringing on Mondays at 8. Let's see, what time? 8:30 Monday mornings. So, go ahead and let them know what THOT Journal is all about.
All right, so like John said, no, it's not about a thoughtie's deepest, darkest secrets. THOT Journal is really just an acronym for the how of ticking. And I really came, when I was graduating from grad school, I was just kind of like, I'm starting out on my own. There's so much that I want to do, but oh man, I have all of these student loans. How am I ever going to be able to live my life the way I need to while still being a slave to Sally Mae? So that's basically what THOT Journal is all about. It's really just kind of like a blogumentary discussing how to live your life to the fullest as someone who might be in, debt, and that could be student loan debt, that could be in debt to, car payments and this like that. Basically ways to minimize your expenditures but maximize your savings and your experiences, just living the same life that you can live, experiencing life to the fullest, but still taking care of your responsibilities.
So question for you real quick. So Casie, right, so what is ticking? What do you mean by ticking? The how of ticking?
The how of ticking is basically kind of like the how of living. How I'm basically showing you to live a life. Yeah, like a clock, basically. What makes you tick? Explore life to figure out what makes you tick, what makes you go, what makes you passionate about life. Me personally, I love travel. So my biggest focus is figuring out a way to go to anywhere in the country, anywhere outside of the country, international travel, and still be able to, well, number one, not pay an arm and a leg for like flights or housing accommodations, but also still be responsible for the debts that I still have as
so
a graduate.
Do you have like a website for this?
I do have a website, and it's actually THOTjournal.com, and yes, it's spelled exactly as you think it is, T.H.O.T. journal.com.
I love it.
Yeah, just recently I posted an article about my experience to Cuba. I didn't have a lot of time, so I could only go for 3 days to Cuba, and I talked about the really inexpensive ways to experience Cuba all in a weekend. So that article is live right now.
I can tell you right now, Casie, this is nice. You and I are going to be, like, you're my best friend already. Because that's wonderful. So I'm definitely digging this. It sounds awesome. And I'm going on your website right now.
Thank you. So the next article that I'll be posting on Friday is going to be the second half of my weekend Cuba trip. And then I'll also be posting an article on the Spanish that you might need to know to go to Cuba, because nobody really speaks a lot of English there. So just a way to help everyone out.
So what locations have you been to besides Cuba?
I studied abroad in Argentina several years ago, and then I also have been to Chile. This summer, I will also be going to Spain, and I will only have to pay for my round trip flight ticket. So I'll be writing an article on how I got to experience Madrid, Spain for 2 weeks, and all I had to pay for was my flight.
Nice, yes. Let me know about that. So it's a lot of Spanish-speaking countries. So you have Spanish as a second language?
Yes, Spanish is my second language. It's also what one of my degrees is, and I'm a speech pathologist. So I work with a lot of students.
My sister is that.
Yeah. So all of my kids are from Spanish-speaking backgrounds, and so in order to communicate with their parents and let them know what type of therapy and activities we're working on, I had to fine-tune that skill.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So how was it? What's the good stuff to do over there?
And you mean in Argentina or in
Cuba? All of them. Every single one.
Well, okay. So the great thing about Cuba is for those that participate in spirits, the drinks there are very inexpensive. What's equivalent to probably like $3.50, and they're very generous with their pour. So that's one thing.
So you can get lit.
Yeah, I was a little lit over there. And they're really into dancing. I went to a salsa club. They also have this really cool art club. It's basically a 3-floor club, and it's filled with just like different types of Cuban art. It was just like the most unique experience that I've ever had.
That's so dope. Really, so on your blog, you talk about how much basically we would need to do a trip like that, like price, cost.
Yeah, and I talk as much, like, okay, when to book, when is the best time to go. These are the things that you should probably partake in. Here's where you could save money. I know that I made a trip to Veradero Beach, and I realized looking back that I didn't have to spend all of that money just to go to the beach. We had a private driver and all of that. So basically, looking at my trip and figuring out ways where I could have saved so that other people that only have the weekend to experience all of Cuba, won't make the same financial mistake. Not even really mistake, but financial judgment that I made.
What's the name of the website again?
THOTjournal.com. That's THOT journal.com.
I'm actually on it right now, and I think this is phenomenal. I really do, Casie. This is just, it's wonderful. Thank you for sharing this with us, and, we look forward to hearing more from you. I'm definitely going to take a look at this and share it. I'm pretty sure a lot of my friends would love to read up on this, being as though, I feel like everyone's in debt to student loans and a slave to Sally Mae, like you say. I know. It really sucks, but this seems really helpful.
Right when you came out of college thinking you're going to be financially free, and then they're like,
no.
Oops.
No, not exactly. I also just updated an article about the top 7 part-time jobs, because I'm really into paying off my debts in a very unusual amount of time. I want to be debt-free before the 10-year mark is up. So I posted updated an article about part-time jobs to kind of, earn and garner more wages to go towards your debt, so that you can spend more of that money doing things that you actually want to do.
That's awesome.
That is fantastic.
Well, thank you so much.
So, Casie, question. Now, do you have a post or something? Because I know we did talk over the phone a little while ago, and ladies and gentlemen, she was supposed to get on last Monday, but we had some technical difficulties. And once again, just we're saying, we're going to have everything together by the fall. But do you have a post or your most recent post that you would like to talk about and share with the people today?
Yeah, well, so my most recent post is it's part 1 of my weekend trip to Cuba. And, so my target audience is really individuals that are in primarily student loan debt, but really any type of debt that really prevents you from not living life as fully as possible. So this article is part 1. It addresses the housing accommodations that my friend and I used, and we also talk about the different attractions that we visited. I will be posting this coming Friday. It'll be part 2. We'll be talking about the Cuban nightlife. We'll be talking about the different types of people that I met. And we'll also be talking about just different ways to really maximize your trip to Cuba if you only have the weekend. You know, so I work in the school system. I'm a school SLP. And so really it's like you don't want to take off a whole week because it really looks like you're kind of like shirking your responsibilities as an educator. So I really only had Thursday and I came back Sunday.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, so I had to maximize everything, and I will be posting for the next several weeks about my trip to Cuba, all the different hacks that I used. I know it was really difficult for me to get in contact with different tours there because they're not very technologically advanced. So, you know, you have to take all the cash that you're going to use over there and spend over there. You have to take that out in the U.S. before you even land into the airport. So I'm just going to be posting just different tips to help to make sure that everything in going to Cuba is as planned as possible. You know, I'm not normally a planner, but I had to make sure this trip was planned out to some extent.
I want to know, how do you feel about working the week, and then did your vacation feel like a vacation because it was 4 days? And I mean, it's a lot of times like you go on vacation, you're like, oh, I gotta hustle, and then I gotta hustle to get back, and then I gotta go back to work.
Well, you know, and for me, I don't necessarily look at travel as, oh, it's a vacation for me. I always try to, well, not always try, it always ends up being something that opens my mind and changes my perspective on a lot of things. So I don't necessarily go to relax and just not do anything. I really go to learn, because I feel like the more that I can learn about other cultures and other ways of life, the more that I can either, one, appreciate the life that I have here, or figure out ways that I can better maximize the way that I live. You know, what I loved about Cuba is that everybody was just so giving. We were coming to visit, and out of the little that they had, because on average I think they make about $20, what's equivalent to $20 a month, they would just give us whatever it is that they had, just to make sure that, you know, as tourists we felt welcome. And so I feel like I can translate that over into my life here in the States. With, you know, why do I have to worry about, you know, if I do this for another person, who cares if I get something back in return, you know? It's really just kind of about making sure that, you know, you love other people and make sure that, you know, you're extending that love to them. So that's one thing that I definitely took from Cuba, and that's what, you know, I'm going to do my best to incorporate in my daily life.
So speaking of the financial difference, as far as retiring, I always had a dream of saving up like $100,000 and just saving it for my retirement in another country where, like you said, they live on $20 a month. Is it like, so if I'm living over there on $100 a month, am I going to be like luxurious?
Well, see, here's the thing. It's not even that they live on $20. Well, yeah, they kind of, that's what they make per month. Now, and this is one thing that I've really struggled with. Our definition of luxury is very different from their definition of
It's more luxury. Simplistic type?
It's very simplistic. There aren't a lot of, like for me, if I were going to live in another country, I would really want to have certain types of amenities.
Right.
One of those amenities would be Wi-Fi, which does not really exist over there.
Oh.
So that's one of the problems that, for me personally, as kind of like a technology, social media junkie, that's kind of one of the downsides of living over there. There are the Airbnb that we stayed in. It was relatively nice, but it's definitely different than my personal apartment. I feel though that if I were going to live over there, I would pay for an Airbnb. But what's really inexpensive are the drinks and the food. Transportation, you can always barter and say like, hey, they can drive you somewhere for 10 CUCs, which is their national currency, and you can haggle that down. I feel like you should just take me for 5 CUCs. So it's, you know, as far as daily expenditures, you wouldn't be spending as much. But there are some things that you wouldn't be able to necessarily indulge in if you were to live in Cuba. But it's still a beautiful country.
Okay, so which parts of Cuba? Because I was in Japan, and there's there's the city life, there's the rural life, there's the like countryside life, and then there's the monastery life. So the parts of Cuba where you were at, what type of lifestyle was it? More city?
Well,
country?
So when I lived in Havana is the capital, so there were definitely, there were cars and everything, nothing like skyscrapers or anything like that.
Okay.
There was a mall, because I really wasn't sure where people bought their clothing from. There was a mall there, and it was right near a hotel that was kind of near my Airbnb. But it's not like a New York or like Atlanta type, big, bustling city. It's really it's like a rural city, if you will.
Okay.
There are a lot of apartments. There are a lot of apartment buildings. So Havana was, I guess you could say, more modernish. Not exactly, though. Vinales was very rural. I did do horseback riding in Vinales.
Hey.
Yeah, we did. We toured the tobacco plantation. We got some really great Cuban cigars that were hand rolled in front of us.
Okay.
We got to experience this coffee plantation, and then we also went to this. There's this cave that used to be inhabited by Native Americans. So we got to go through that cave, and we got to go on this boat that kind of sailed on the river that was inside the cave. So it was a good. Vinales was my favorite day by far.
So,
Veradero is very much like South Beach, Miami. So it's definitely a beach town. They do have very nice hotels. So it's just a little bit of everything. It's an island, so it touches on a little bit of everything. But like I said, you can't necessarily translate it to American, standards of cities or the rural areas. It's still very much different.
Okay, so your dream life, what does that look like?
Oh, my dream life is traveling the world. Every few weeks, every few months to just a new place.
So all right. So if that's your dream life, every few months, aren't you living the dream right now? How often are you traveling?
Well, see, I tend to do a lot of in-state travel, and then when I can do out-of-the-country travel, I've made a goal for myself to travel to at least 2 new countries per year. Now,
come on.
To me, that's not necessarily living my life to the fullest. I feel like I would want to go personally to a new country once a month if I could. But I love what I do right now because I love languages and I love culture, and my job as an SLP really helps me to experience that on a first-hand basis. However, my job is to exclusively travel and write about ways how others can travel, and live this life of, experiencing different cultures, because I feel like having perspectives and basing your perspectives off of other countries, that really just helps your worldview.
Absolutely. I 100% agree. But now that brings up another question for me. So if that's the dream life, what does family look like in that picture?
Well, I don't necessarily see myself living permanently in another country. So I feel that the United States would still be my base. So I would still see my family, regularly. I would just be traveling a lot. So, for major holidays like Thanksgiving or Christmas, and even maybe the occasional Labor Day or Memorial Day, I feel like I would still spend that with my family, or, the 4th of July. But I feel like my family is really supportive of me.
I did mean more of like creating a family, that part of it.
Oh, creating a family.
Yeah.
Oh. So yeah, that can be a little tricky.
Yeah, exactly. Because your dream life is sounding similar to a life I would want to lead, but then I'm like,
yeah.
What about?
So my boyfriend, he currently lives in Atlanta, where I live in Atlanta. And so I feel that going into it, you just have to be with somebody who understands. Like, look, in the beginning, this is a non-negotiable. I feel like I need to travel pretty regularly. And if you get someone that understands how you are, understands your disposition in life, and understands what your passion is, I feel like there really isn't, that really isn't a tough pill to swallow, if you're really honest and upfront about what it is that you want to do.
Yeah.
Now, as far as marriage, I feel like that's definitely going to happen for me maybe in the next 3 to 5 years. I have no idea. But, that's something that, I was very clear and upfront about. And I let him know, hey, so this is this is what I come with. You know, I enjoy doing this, and he's fine with it.
Right. So as long as you
know,
can find someone who can harmonize with your
Exactly.
speed and your tempo and your pace,
Well,
I like that.
Exactly.
Well, Casie,
Exactly.
I know you're very busy, and definitely appreciate you coming on and everything like that. So, ladies and gentlemen, once again, that's THOT Journal, and she will be on at 9. I'm sorry, I keep saying 9:30, 8:30 on Mondays with new, I guess, news, tricks, tips, and how to really budget. But we have to go. Casie has to go. Casie, once again, thank you so much for calling in. We look forward to your future posts.
Dollar.
See you later.
Thank you so
Definitely
much.
enjoyed
Thanks,
you.
guys.
All right.
Thank you. Have a good one.
You too.
Bye.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, once again, you have been listening to the Goonies. We apologize for some of the technical difficulties, but now it is time for us to wrap it up. We hope you enjoyed it, and we look forward to bringing you some more good records, good talk. And I'm so happy because the team is here. The team is here. So, ladies and gentlemen, Nas, Mark, you want to say anything to the people while we wrap it up?
Have a good morning, guys.
Have a great morning.
Yeah.
All right.
See you next week.
Yes, sir. So you are listening to Mako Radio. This is your boy DJ Mad Mavern with Marc Francois and Nas. And collectively we are known as the Goonies. Up next we have Sports Lounge. So get ready.